No chairs.
No chairs.
No fireside chat.
Yeah. But great intro.
We're going to have to do it, Alex.
Great
Just
intro.
standing up.
Standing fireside chat.
It's going to be a stand-up, fireside, sit-down chat.
Thanks everybody for Friday afternoon sticking with us here. Excited to be on stage.
We have Bridget Harris from YouCanBookMe.
Yeah, today we've got to give Bridget a round of applause here. She made it to number 30 in the E2E Female 100 fastest growing, I guess, businesses,
female entrepreneurs in the UK.
So well done to Bridget. Just giving her a bit of due credibility as to the subject here, 5 lessons in bootstrapping to 5 million ARR. So do we have many bootstrappers here? I think there's a lot of bootstrappers at this conference.
Woohoo!
I'm going to say probably about a third of you. So we're 2 bootstrappers, so we can talk about that. I'm at 5 million, but not in ARR, in dollars. You're at 5 million ARR, dollars or pounds?
Dollars, but we're kind of heading towards the pounds, depending on the dollar-sterling parity. It kind of changes, but yeah. Pretty much.
And I've been running SaaS Doc, which helps SaaS companies get to 10 million in revenue through our conferences, our memberships and media. Bridget running an actual SaaS company, so I think more pearls of wisdom coming from Bridget today in the next 20 minutes than myself. But let's talk about it. 5 lessons. We've got 17 minutes, plus we want to take some questions as well. So first lesson is around timing. So like who, what, when to buy your product.
Right. Well, yeah. The question about timing is intrinsically connected to whether you raise money. Because if you're going to go for a kind of product that requires a lot of upfront investment to do with compliance, or maybe it's got some hardware association, you've got to do some manufacturing, or you need to do a huge amount of customer research in order to get the right thing, then your timing is going to be really affected by your choice to bootstrap.
Should we take a seat?
Cheers.
There we go.
You see? Thank you. You see how effective bootstrappers are at getting what we want. So we could do any stage, but we can also, eventually, things that you need arrive.
We could do what we want because we own the company. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is what I would say, and like my experience of bootstrapping, and I want to hear what you think about your timing for because you were much more in the you need upfront capital, so I want to know how you did it. Mm-hmm. It just so happens that with our products, we were doing online scheduling. It's a drip, it's a self-service, it's a freemium. So because of that, and also we started about 15 years ago, the timing for us to be able to stretch that out over a long time when you're really earning very little. Now for context, to get that 5 million, we have over 20,000 customers. So we have a lot of small people, small engines, small amounts of money powering what we're doing. So it takes a long time to build that up. So if you haven't got the time to do it, then that's really helping you define whether you can bootstrap or not. But what about you, Alex?
Yeah, I think for me, SaaS Doc was a side hustle, obviously, before it was a revenue-generating business. But I spent 12 months building an audience inadvertently, maybe a bit more sort of credit around that. But 12 months doing that, I think 6 months of those 12 months, I was working full-time somewhere else, but working from home. So I had the time to work on the side project. And after 12 months of not being revenue-generating, I had an audience that I could then sell tickets and sponsorship into. So we were then customer funded after the next 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't afford a potential 5-year runway to get up to speed where you're hiring people, you're paying yourself, and you're feeling good about it, then that's the point to take on a financial partner who's going to give you some of that upfront cash. But right now, the first product that myself and Keith actually launched, my co-founder and CTO, was literally in 2003, and it was a survey building tool. It's called tickboxer.com. We sold the domain since then. It was exactly like SurveyMonkey, but we just realized in order to get people to use our survey building tool, we needed a lot of upfront capital to invest in the marketing and the awareness and the brand. We couldn't do it because we didn't want to take on money, and it's as simple as that. So we dumped the product. So as soon as we got YouCanBookMe, where we could see that natural viral growth rate, essentially, and we had the patience and timing to do it.
Second lesson is around skills. What skills that you have as the co-founders versus what do you need to pay for and bring into the business?
So again, it's the same sort of thing when you're choosing to bootstrap versus upfront funding. If you have the money, you can buy all the skills. Fantastic. if you haven't got the money, you then got to look at your internally, what skills have you got? And my view is that you've got 3 core things that you need inside a product, a SaaS product like ours. You need engineering, CTO, somebody who's actually going to code. You need operations and finance, somebody who's basically going to deliver the business strategy. And then you need some kind of creative designer, product owner, somebody who's going to sort of shape that product over time. Basically, me and Keith had the first 2. So he was the engineer and I was the operations person. And you see that today, 10 years later in the company. It's a very engineering and operations-led company. And it's taken a while for us to move across into a more product and design-led sort of set of priorities. So you can get a lot of people, but I've never met somebody yet who's one person who's all 3, or 2 founders. So you either get 3 co-founders with those skills, or you have to buy in. Now, I would say, actually, nowadays it's probably easiest to buy in tech, ironically, engineering, because there's so many fantastic agencies that do it. As long as you've got a very good, strong product desire, you can basically hire people to do that for you. But again, can you bootstrap without one of those key leading skills? How are you going to pay for that skill? And whatever you can't pay for, you're going to create debt. So essentially, you're going to create technical debt or customer debt or product debt or some form of cash debt. How are you going to do it? So cash debt is borrowing money from an investor to, or any kind of borrowing money. That's cash debt. If you decide not to take cash debt because you want to be customer funded, well, then you're going to probably take on debt by one of the other pillars.
So let's talk about hiring then. So obviously we talk about the skills. What have you got? What do you need to buy for and pay to bring into the company? So when you're hiring, I guess kind of like what stage do you know, like what sort of roles and how much you're going to pay to bring?
I mean, amazing point, and I was talking about it with Angie today. So it's huge. Everybody makes mistakes. Loved what Becca was saying about hiring and how to essentially diversify and think about internationally who you can get. There's some incredible models out there now of people who've just decided to not employ anybody directly and they just go straight to the freelance market and only get freelancers. And they put a, Gumroad is based on that model. And actually, Angie, this is really what I was trying to capture in what we were talking about earlier today. The minute you start hiring and employing people, you're introducing culture into your company. So you have to decide what that culture is going to be and how that's going to grow. So what you pay them and how much you can afford is absolutely embedded and baked into it. So my view is pay as much as you can, a sort of minimal acceptable offer for people. Don't pay them the most you can. As soon as you realize that they're going to offer you value and they're going to keep helping you build your company, keep paying them internally to keep incentivizing and supporting the people internally who work for you, and also to stay market relevant. But you've got to do it within your bootstrapped boundaries. And don't do, and we have done this before, believe that if you could just afford to pay somebody $150,000 a year and you sort of bring in some kind of 6-figure superstar, that they will then have this transformative effect. I've never experienced that. I've never experienced the idea that by going out and paying, a huge salary, I'm going to get a 10x person to come in. All my 10x, if you like, people who work for me now, who are on good salaries, they all started joining the company on fairly modest rates and basically worked really hard inside the company to get to that point where I realized just how powerful a team we are because of it. But you have to do that through culture, not just direct hiring.
Yeah, I mean, slightly the opposite for us. I mean, obviously, we're not a SaaS company, but I feel like over the years, and we've been running for 8 years, as a bootstrap business, we haven't really been able to pay like competitive, super competitive sort of wages. And we probably I wouldn't say underpaid. We pay well for the industry that we're in.
I'm not applying for a job, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's okay. But yeah, I think only sort of like recently, in the 8th year, are we now, paying top dollar for senior leadership roles, and we are seeing, personally, like a 10x difference, in I guess these expensive sort of folks. But that's a disadvantage for bootstrappers generally, would you say?
So absolutely, and I think in some ways, you just have to be kind of confident about what it is that you're offering somebody. And it's not the case that every single high-performing person wants exactly the same thing. It's relative to all these other things in their lives. So, you can find people who they actively like. YouCanBookMe's brand, if you like, as a company is pretty clear. I think it'd be pretty clear to anybody who wants to come and work for us what they're going to get. They're going to get a small company because we basically, we have kept a lot of control over the size of our company deliberately, pretty much to reduce the sort of stress on us as founders. Look at Becca. She's running a company with 150 people, and she's dressing up as a unicorn. Like, there's a kind of, you have to find your strategies through. And I personally would find it very stressful to run a company with 1,000 people. So there's that. So we're small, we're remote. Another big differentiator, well, not so much now, but a big differentiator is to be remote. We're bootstrapped, we're profitable, we pay out profit share, we are very transparent inside the company, and we document all of that. So we do it very deliberately so that the aim is for somebody to look at our website and go, those look like my people, I want to go work for those people. Now, when you get to that situation, you then really want to be able to say, what we offer is fair, it might be above market rate, you might also get some extra in terms of bonus and profit share. It's a package. And so I don't know if any of you were watching me last year in Austin. Hands up, anybody right? Hi, of course. Hi, everybody. I was talking then about profit share. So you end up introducing other parts of your company that you can incentivize people to be a part of. Also, don't underestimate the power of the offer to say you have an opportunity to really change something here. You can come in. Here's the way we've laid it out. Because we've been bootstrapped, we're not under any pressure to kind of deliver to an external person's criteria. We can build something that we really want. So one of our internal culture statements is commitment to excellence. So that sometimes does mean we're going to rewrite something, or we're going to drop it because it's not good enough. And we have a quality control that matters to us. We're not just move fast, break things, hack it, move on, it doesn't matter, let the customer down, let's go. We don't do that. And there's some people where they know they've got an opportunity to make a real impact, and that is just as important as their salary.
Lesson number 4 is cash is king. What does that mean in, I guess, the bootstrapping terms in your experience?
Cash is king. I mean, my God, if there was anything anybody that doubted that after last weekend's SVB meltdown, they won't now. It's all, and actually, as a bootstrapper, and we had money in Silicon Valley Bank, I was indignant about the idea that my money that we had earned from customers, customer money basically, hard-earned customer money, was in a bank account that was potentially going to be lost or taken away or gone towards some kind of loss. I was apoplectic about that. So you can't run out of money if you're a bootstrapper. So we didn't raise cash, but we did borrow money. We got banking overdrafts and credit cards, private loans. We did it. You have to watch how much money is in your bank account. It doesn't really matter how much profit you're making, how much you're earning. You just can't run out of money. I've never, ever not made payroll for the 12 years we've been running the company. And there's only one way to do that, which is financial literacy. So one of the early things that I did when I realized that we were bootstrapping for real, if you like, with people, as soon as you take on people, you're responsible for their financial security as well as your own, your company's. I went on a financial literacy course. I basically learned about how profit and loss works, how balance sheet works, how working capital works. So I run my business. It's a business. It's not necessarily a SaaS company or anything else. You're the same. I mean, your overheads must be absolutely enormous in terms of being an event organizer. So I can't imagine. Our gross margins are very, very good because it's a software company. So it's pretty simple to run. But you've got to be confident about what you're talking about.
You mentioned actually sort of earlier that a book that you read whilst you were bootstrapping that's helped you was Venture Deals.
That's right.
So why was that?
So again, I would say to any founder who's thinking about being, bootstrapping sounds hard, maybe great long term, but it sounds hard. Maybe venture capital or taking on investment is easier. I would just say that's fine, that's completely legitimate, but you've got to be educated around the table. If you're going to take money from a VC, and I read about 10 years ago, Venture Deals, whenever it came out, read that book because it will tell you exactly how deals are structured, what the incentive of the VC is, and what business that they are in. And it's a really great business. It's a legitimate business, but it's not necessarily got anything to do with what you've decided to sell as a product. So you just have to educate yourself about what venture capital and corporate finance is about. And they're not your friends. You know, what they're doing is they're making money from your decision to go into business as an entrepreneur and make money. And that's a different thing. And my view would be, you know, exploit them if you need them. If you need them for upfront capital, if you need them for upfront investment, exploit them, because that's what they're there for. But don't think that they're doing you a favor. And the only way you're going to learn that is by reading the books. And that's a great book.
We've got 2 minutes. The final lesson was around boundaries, so separating your personal boundaries from your business boundaries.
Yes.
So can you share a bit more around that?
Well, that again is a reflection of what happens if you're bootstrapped. You don't have this external pressure, which is obviously a good one, because if you've just taken on 10 million quid from somebody, they're obviously going to be hovering around making sure you're not going to spend that on sweets. So you've got this accountability for your business that puts you into a different role. Whereas if you're bootstrapped, you can say, well, I don't know if it's my expense card or if it's the company expense card, does it really matter, it's my money. You end up falling into patterns potentially around 24-hour obsession with your business. And I just think it's going to take you longer to bootstrap a company. So you're signing up for 10, 15, 20 years of your life. If you don't put in boundaries soon enough, you'll burn out like anybody else. There's nothing special about bootstrapping. So my experience is I've always bootstrapped, whatever pennies we had, whatever peanuts we had in our bank account for YouCanBookMe, it was always financially separate to my personal expenses. And that way it just gave me some mental clarity about what I was doing.
Awesome. Any questions from the audience in the time that we have left? Anything for Bridget? No. Two there. On the right first. Yeah.
We use YouCanBookMe, great product.
Yeah!
I'm just impressed as well. We're a similarly sort of, largely bootstrapped, not entirely bootstrapped SaaS, and sometimes the growth is slower than you would like.
Yeah.
And then you see other competitors in your field who are well funded and growing very quickly. I'm just curious, do you ever feel pressure from like the Calendlys of the world or whomever else?
Well, obviously, sometimes when you're a business owner, you never lose that kind of fear that something is all just going to go wrong, and you've got to take care of it. At the same time, you have to be philosophical. Like, apart from anything else, the perspective. We were in business before Calendly. We've been in scheduling for a very long time, and our goals are different because we're bootstrapped. So I don't need to be a £200 million company in order for actually everybody who works for us and our customers to be super happy. So I'm glad to see. Obviously, Dingus and Zazie are here in the room as well. Your money that's in our bank account that was in SVB that we're protecting here. Like, my relationship is to you guys. It isn't to anybody else. If Calendly comes and or any other scheduling tool, Chili Piper were here, like those guys there, they're absolutely fantastic. We're all in the same business to try to serve customers. And our primary relationship is with the customers who currently buy us, and then our marketing and growth opportunities to try to persuade others. And you just have to be self-assured, I think. You can't go into business and be an entrepreneur and be worried that your idea is not good enough or somebody's going to take it away from you. You have to basically be a bit of a, basically be a bit cocky. You're just like, well, I think we could probably do anything if we wanted to. You just have to go in there and say, yeah, they're great and they've been well funded and they're doing whatever they want to do. Why has that got anything to do with my ability to ship tomorrow and do the customer feature that somebody wants and to basically run a successful business and have lots of money in the bank and keep everybody happy? Like, they don't have to affect me. And I think that's another way of grounding being sort of strong boundaries. I would say that resistance to pressure from competitors is a strong boundary. That doesn't mean to say you don't pay attention, but you do need a boundary. I think maybe one more.
Yep.
It's a quick one. What was the name of the book that you mentioned everyone should go to the table, the VC table understanding?
Oh, Venture Deals. Who's the guy that wrote it?
Bradfeld,
Venture Deals. I mean, it kind of lifts the lid on it. And there's actually, I had a lovely chat with a guy, I don't know if he's here, Jim, who's he's a growth equity guy. He's a guy, turning up to these events specifically to try to attract companies to invest in. He said, listen, VCs try to give you too much money because they're basically trying to run down the fund, they're trying to write big checks. If they tell you they're going to give you $1 million, they're going to try to make you take $5 million because they're just basically their objectives are different to yours. He said, bootstrap for longer, don't take as much money, work out what you're trying to do first. Work out how you're going to make money from customers before you take money from VCs. Because often in this world, people announce funding rounds as if they've just made some money. It's like, no, you haven't. You've just either sold a bit of your company, or your customers become your VC, or you've now just, entered into some enormous debt structure and finance structure where if you are under pressure, you might have to pay that VC back 3 times whatever they've given you before anybody else gets a penny. And I think you just have to be literate about that, because it is a perfectly legitimate form of finance. Obviously, FounderPath are here as well, and all these other guys that are doing some incredible work to give. I mean, if I'd had FounderPath, I'm not just saying this because it's Nathan's show, but if I'd had FounderPath 10 years ago, I was scraping around for 25,000 quid from NatWest, on the high street of Bedford. And they were like, oh, I'm not quite sure. I'm like, I'm growing at 2,000%. I just don't understand. You're making a loss. I know, but you need to give me money. And it was just such a headache. But I can believe that if FounderPath had been around 10 years ago, I'd have just, I would absolutely have floated in, got $1 million, off we go. But but I'm mean. I'm not going to give away my company, to people who sort of feel like, when they circle around in that first year, and they give you those sort of preference shares and all the liquidation preferences and all the rest of it, and you read up on it in venture deals, and you suddenly realize the game they're playing. Good luck to them, well done, but don't forget it's not your business, it's their business model, it's not your business model. So I'm actually quite evangelical about this, I realize. I wasn't going to slag them all off, but you know what I'm saying.
Cool. All right, I think we're done. Let's hear it for Bridget.
Thank you, Alex. Okay.